Hi friends, welcome back or welcome to my channel. If this is the first time you've stumbled across me, I am Katrina and this is Katrina Knits. Today I have one finished object to share with you, so let's get started. If you haven't already, please subscribe so that you don't miss any future videos. I am wearing the Streamline Tank by Alexandra Tavel from Two of Wands. I knit this about 2 years ago. No, more than that now. Oh my goodness, maybe 4 years ago. And it is made out of Lion brand bamboo cotton in this pretty yellow colorway. This was one of my first tank tops that I ever made. It is a very simple pattern to follow. It's a free pattern on her website. It's got this pretty detail here. I don't wear it too often anymore because, I don't know, you won't see this with me sitting down, but when I made it, I was, well, I've lost quite a bit of weight since I made it, and I had made the extra large, and it's pretty large. It's pretty gapey now. It's not too bad when I have like a black tank top underneath, but that's the pattern. It's knit front panel, back panel, and then you have to seam up the sides. So that wasn't fun. I don't like seaming, but I did it. So that's what I'm wearing in case you were wondering. So my finished object to share with you is the Trinigan by Andrea Mowry. Now I have a little picture here from my printed pattern that I will show you. Okay. I have to be very honest, when this pattern was first released a couple years ago, it didn't appeal to me. I had zero interest in knitting it. It just didn't seem like a style that was for me, even though I love oversized things. But I will explain to you a little bit later why it suddenly got on my needles. I started this project. Here it is. Okay, this is the inside, which is honestly just as pretty as the outside. Okay, this is the back, sleeves. Okay, here we go. I'll hold up one side like this. So big shawl collar, sleeves, front panel. I started this on a whim in February 2024, so earlier this year, and I bound off in July, about a month ago. So it's not that it was a long or tedious pattern to make, it's just that honestly from March, April, and part of May, I stopped knitting everything that I had on my needles and I started knitting baby knits for my friend's baby. Because if I hadn't done that, this would probably have been done a lot sooner. The pattern is intended to be made using a main color and then a contrast color. And the designer, Andrea Mowry of Andrea Renee Knits, she used Spin Cycle for the contrast. And I did not have Spin Cycle and I did not want to buy any at the time because my goal was to try to make something with what I already had in my stash because I just didn't want to spend any more money. So I chose to use this gray for the main color and then 3 separate skeins for the contrast color. So my main color is this. Now this is a Lion brand Heartland yarn and it is acrylic, 100% acrylic. I had this in my stash for so many years. Actually, the reason I had it is because I frogged my very first crochet sweater that I made, which was what I did before I even learned to knit. So I decided I didn't want it anymore, and then I just wanted to get this out of my stash. So, but it's very soft and squishy. So I was looking for something that I could make with it that, you know, it would just be cozy. So I decided to use this for the main color. It's called Great Smoky Mountains, and it's worsted weight acrylic, 251 yards per ball. I think I used about three balls, I would say, because according to the size I made and the pattern, I would have needed 600 yards of the main color. And yeah, so I think I used about 3 balls, and then this is, I only barely tapped into it because this is still 92 grams here. The reason I'm not exactly 100% sure on how much I used of that yarn is because when I frogged the sweater, it was already like all magic knotted together. So I don't know how many balls went into that sweater. Okay, and this is what I have left over from the contrast colors. So the blue that I used is an Uru yarn, which was from an old knit crate. And let me think. The colorway is called Wolves. It was a 70% superwash merino, 20 nylon, 10 stellina, and I used 67 grams in this sweater. Then I used this color. Now these two are both from a dyer called Threadhead Knits, who I believe has since changed her business name. I can't be 100% sure what it is now though. It could be Rebel something. Anyhow, so the purple one is called Pop Rocks. The white one is called Saltwater Taffy. And I used roughly about 66 grams of each in the sweater. And those ones are 100% superwash merino. Construction. So this sweater, it's so big and bulky, bear with me. This sweater is knit from the bottom up. Sorry, you can see I haven't woven in any ends yet. That's okay, I may get to it, I may not. So it's knit from the bottom up. So you start down here, and it's actually started with a, what did she call it? A long tail tubular cast on, a long tail tubular cast on. And I had bound off before with tubular cast off, like the sewn one, but I had never cast on. So that was a new to me technique. It wasn't bad. It was fairly simple. You know, there was just sort of 3 setup rows. They were okay. They just sort of give it this rounded, can you see that? A little bit of a rounded edge there at the hem. It looks pretty. And then after that, you just move on to knitting the 2x2 rib. And normally I knit my knits through the back loop for ribbing, regardless of what the pattern says, but I didn't do that this time. So these are just regular 2x2 ribs. Now, as for casting on, what did I cast on? How much did I cast on? So when I swatched, my gauge was bigger than it should have been. So I had to do some math, and I decided that I was going to cast on the 2nd size. Normally I'm more like the 4th or 5th size. So I decided I was going to cast on the 2nd size. So off I went with those numbers, learning to do this long tail tubular cast on. And after I went through all of that and started the ribbing and everything, I just did a final count. Somehow I miscounted the stitches when I cast it on, and I had 8 stitches less basically than I should have. So if the number was 128, I had 120, something like that. Let me tell you, I was not about to undo all that and do that tubular cast on again, because although I said it was okay, it was fairly simple, it took a long time and it was a lot of work. So I just decided I was going to make these numbers work. So I did some more math throughout the pattern, adjusted my numbers, and I ended up knitting somewhere between a size 1 and a size 2. And that's okay. The pattern is intended to have about 14 inches of positive ease. That's the suggested ease from the designer. I think I'm probably around that. I never actually measured the final product, but I think I'm somewhere around that because it is quite oversized on me. I will put in pictures and video or b-roll or whatever you want to call it of me wearing it so that you can see, because I don't know. I could put it on now, but I have this tank top on and that would look silly. The pattern is worked bottom up. So once you finish knitting the rib, you move into the body, and the body is constructed using mosaic knitting. You see this color pattern here? It's really cool. Mosaic knitting is essentially just slip stitches to achieve this really pretty color work pattern. So I went in the order of blue yarn, purple yarn, white yarn, and I kept repeating 2 rows of each throughout the pattern. So there's easy charts to follow. The whole pattern is just very, very straightforward, no guessing. It tells you how to do everything, tells you what to look out for. So once you knit the body to a certain length, however many inches the pattern says to, then you go ahead and you separate the front and back. So you end up with quite a few sections on hold, on like pearl strings or barber cords or spare yarn or whatever you want to call it. I find that more annoying than anything when I have a lot of sections on hold, but it doesn't last long. You knit the sections you need, and once your front panels and your back panels were all knitted up, then you do that really cool 3-needle bind off. And I really liked that. It's super easy, and it gives you this, like, can you see? Maybe if I hold it this way, there you go. It gives you this ridge along the shoulders, which I thought looked really fun. And it actually ties in with the back of the collar. So once you have done your 3-needle bind off, you are ready to pick up for sleeves. Now, as you can see in the pattern, you're probably saying, Kat, your sweater doesn't look like this pattern. Yeah, that's true, because I made a few modifications, one being the sleeves. I was not a fan of those sleeves in the pattern, and so I decided I wanted long sleeves. And the way I went about doing that is I knit the sleeve just about a 1/2 inch longer than the pattern said to. I knit to 10 inches, and then I did a couple rapid decrease rounds to get my stitches down to half the amount of my stitch count. And after that, I did a 4-inch 2x2 ribbed cuff to match the hem at the bottom. So the reason I knew I wanted to do long sleeves is because I was inspired by a project I saw on Ravelry, and the person's name on Ravelry is Sloan Lacasse, and I'll put in a picture. But she made hers with long sleeves, and I don't know why I hadn't thought of that. Like, when I see a pattern released by the designer, I don't automatically think in my head, oh, I would like that if it had long sleeves. No, I just look at it, and if I like it, I like it. If I don't, I don't. So that's why it was not on my radar for 2 years. The next modification that I made is this humongousOid shawl collar. I don't even know how to show it properly. There we go. Sort of, maybe. No, hold on. Here we go. I'll show like one panel. All right, this is hard. You'll see it in the video. But I made this very big shawl collar that folds over and goes all the way down the front. And again, we see the pattern from the designer. That's just a regular sort of button band with no buttons. There's no shawl collar. So it never even crossed my mind until I was scrolling through Ravelry and came across the project by, what's her name? Prolific Knitter. And I'll put in a picture. So I saw that she added a shawl collar and I thought, oh my gosh, long sleeves, shawl collar. This is something that I'm drawn to. So again, that's what I did. I followed her instructions, and her instructions were that she followed the instructions for the shawl collar on the Spark Cardi, which is another one of Andrea Mowry's designs. I just so happened to have that pattern in my Ravelry library, you know, the library that's full of patterns that I purchase and, you know, rarely ever get around to knitting them. Anyhow, so I followed the numbers for the large size of the Spark Cardi for it, you know, for knowing how to pick up and how to do the shawl collar. And in addition to that, so that pattern gives instructions for the shawl collar using short rows that are wrap and turn. I really don't like wrap and turn. I've tried it a few times. I have a hard time finding the piece to pick up afterwards. I don't know if that makes any sense. So I much prefer doing German short rows. The problem is I didn't know how to convert the pattern from wrap and turn to German short rows. So I Googled and I YouTubed and I watched a few videos and I figured it out. I did it. It made sense to me when I finally did it. Could I explain to you how to do that now? Probably not. But it worked. In hindsight, let me see if I can show you here. We see this shawl collar comes all the way down and it doesn't start to sort of get narrow until very close to the bottom. I wish I had stopped my short rows earlier, like somewhere up here, so that it was narrower for a longer distance, if that makes sense. I mean, it's not enough that I would go back and undo it and change it now, but in hindsight, like for example, the pattern said, you know, for the short rows, repeat row 3 like 55 times, and I did that. I think it would have been better if I did maybe only 35 times, but you know, you live, you learn. My thoughts. Couple things. Well, I've already told you about the shawl collar and what I wish I would have done there. Let me just put it on because I love it so much. Oh my God, I love this collar. This collar, before I move on, this collar probably took, okay, maybe not the same amount of time as it took me to knit the whole entire sweater, but it took a damn long time. I mean, probably close to the same amount of time it took me to knit the whole sweater. So, I mean, I just love it. Isn't it so pretty? Oh, I should have worn this the whole time. Anyhow, so yeah, I wish I would have, let me see if I can get up here. I wish I would have shortened this so that it starts a bit, if the shawl collar is a bit smaller. But most of all, I wish that I had put pockets. I know, guys, I know. So many people have already told me, oh, but you can still add pockets. No, I can't. I don't want to, because that's not the kind of pocket I want. I wanted the inset pocket, like a forethought pocket, not an afterthought pocket. But I don't know why I didn't even think of it. So that didn't happen. But what I might still do is use this last ball to knit like a tie, a band or something around the waist, like a belt, and put some I-cord loops. They have the instructions for that in the Spark Cardi pattern. So I might do that. We'll see. I may not. I think I would like to do that because I do like to close the cardigan, and then at least, even though there's no pockets, like I could sort of like catch my thumbs in the belt loop. Look at all my ends. Anyways, so those are my thoughts on, you know, my hindsight, what I wish I would have done differently. Okay, so once I finished knitting it, pre-blocking, tried it on, the fit was amazing, nice and oversized and cozy, just how I wanted it. But once I washed it, post-blocking, I did not expect it to grow as much as it did, especially in length. I didn't think it would grow much because it's acrylic. Like, I mean, I know these colorful parts are superwash, but the main part is acrylic, and that was the majority of the sweater. So anyways, it grew a lot. It was so heavy. It was taking forever to dry. It was on the blocking mats for 2 days, maybe 3, I don't remember. But at one point I took it off and it was still quite damp, and not quite damp, but it was still damp. And I tried it on and I was like, oh my gosh, this grew a lot in length. It was like a robe. So I took it and I didn't know what to do. So I just threw it in the dryer for about 15 minutes and it did the job. It cinched it up. So I'm wondering if I did that right away from it being wet, if that would, you know, take it in a little bit more. But you know what, like sitting here wearing it, I'm okay. I love it. And I am so happy with the color. I love gray. I love these little color pops. Reminds me of like a stained glass window. Gosh. Okay, this is a piece that I am really, really proud of for making. Like, I didn't think I was going to be able to pull off this shawl collar part, but I did, especially because, you know, converting to the German short rows, which for some people, you know, they might think, whatever, that's not a big deal, but it was a big deal to me, and I'm proud of myself that I was able to do it. So that's all I have for you today. I hope you've enjoyed watching, and don't forget to subscribe if you've enjoyed the content so you can get notified of future videos. And that's it from me. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.